I don't think you need to be a perfect friend. Online, there's a lot of stuff around perfectionism. I think that's one of the big misconceptions about friendship is that it does not have to go in a straight line.
So many women write to me saying, I struggle so much to make friends.
People are not talking about how lonely they are.
The cost of a community is sometimes being inconvenience.
Where friendship fails too is the friend that comes to you and says, my feelings are really hurt by that. The other person doesn't get it. It doesn't matter. You just say, your feelings matter to me and I would never want to hurt you.
What do you think is a silent killer in friendship?
Not complimenting your friends ever. We want people to know us.
And the way to do that is to go first.
So it's interesting. I've been doing some research on friendship.
Yeah.
And what I found was that people have enough friends. Across the board, people report that they feel pretty good about the amount of people in their life.
Okay.
But where there's a gap is in the quality of the relationships that they have with their friends. There's this gap of wanting a little bit more, wanting more closeness, wanting more intimacy, wanting to know parts of their friends that maybe they don't know about. So there's some disconnect that's happening in the amount of friends that they have. So it's not a quantity issue, it's a quality issue.
That's so interesting because so many women write to me saying, I struggle so much to make friends. So that's so interesting that the research that you found is like, no, people have friends, they just don't have deep friends.
You know what it is? I think it's like, who's going to go first?
I literally said this yesterday. I'm like, I always say that there's a lot of things wrong with me, but one thing that I think I'm really good at is making friends. And I promise you, one of the main reasons is because I don't care to go first. I'll go first 9 times out of 10. I'll slide in someone's DMs. I'll talk to somebody if I'm standing in line. I will ask a friend to introduce me to a friend that I think I might get along with. I don't care. With friends, I feel like the stakes are so low. I don't know, for me, like romantically it's different, but with friendship, I don't mind. And I swear going first sometimes is all it takes because more often than not, I think we're all more alike than we realize. And more often than not, it just might take one person to be the one to initiate.
Right. But here's the thing is if someone doesn't respond, what happens next?
Yeah.
Do you ruminate on that? Do you think about that? Is there a price tag or cost associated with, okay, I was the first one to go.
Yeah.
And now they're not responsive or they're avoidant. And then you get in your head, right? Because women, we get in our heads, let's be honest.
Yeah.
And we're like, what did I say? What did I do? Or,
That happens to me more with guys, not with friends.
Okay.
I don't know why. Like I think with friends, I guess I've had more experiences reaching out, trying to go first, maybe getting lunch with someone who I thought I would get along with. Then I realized, I don't think we'd be that close, right? So I think because I've done it very often, my brain doesn't see it as dangerous. And my brain has also seen it not work out. And I'm like, it's okay. So I think that's the only reason why it doesn't feel scary. But I could totally see why it would be scary for somebody.
So for you, it's interesting. You're saying it's sort of low stakes.
Yeah.
For some people, vulnerability, it takes somebody, it's a bold move, right? And there's some calculated risk involved in every encounter that we have.
Yeah.
So it's like, how far do we want to take that calculation? And if we get that red text that with no response, how are we going to come back from that? For some people that come back, maybe not for you, but for some people that come back from that red text that's not responded to is a long journey home, right? So, for everybody it's different. And I think it's what I've realized, researching female friendship and really scrutinizing it to some extent is that it is sort of like dating.
Yeah, I always say this.
It really is.
At the beginning, it's totally like
There's
dating.
a courting process and nobody wants to go first.
Yeah.
And in some ways, it's actually harder than dating.
Why?
Because there's no rules. Like you think about courting, right? We think like there's a bit of a gender role thing, right?
For sure.
Although it's changing a little. But, we do tend to expect the male to sort of initiate.
Yes.
But with women, it's like, who goes first?
Right. Let's talk to women who want to maybe go first. Maybe they're scared of what will happen. What would you say?
You're already failing because you're not doing anything. So you're going to fail one way or another potentially.
Period. Yeah.
So by doing nothing, you're already failing. So you might as well try.
I love it. And what would you say to women who want to deepen their friendships? Because you were saying how the research found that women have friends, they just don't feel like they are not quality friendships, but maybe as deep as they would like. How do we deepen a friendship?
I like to think of everything as calculated risk, right? Looking at the areas of your life or the parts of yourself that you're feeling like you want to share. Something about you that is sort of this sort of internal part, like, I want to tell someone this thing about me.
Yeah.
And it may like land on deaf ears. It may not work out, but I'm going to try and see if I get somewhere with that. And maybe there's reciprocity in that. Maybe we can deepen the friendship. And my goodness, what the gains that could be at the end of that, like that could be incredible.
Yeah.
So think about that thing. What is that one thing that you want to share about your life? Because everybody has something personal. Everyone has secrets. Everyone's been through something.
So you're saying
everyone
share
has trauma.
A secret. You're saying share a secret.
Share a secret, share a trauma, but a calculated trauma, not something that you feel like is gonna. I like to use the word flooding.
Okay.
Right. We don't want to flood people.
Right.
And you don't want too much too soon. That's why I love this sort of calculated risk area in vetting your relationships, because you want to get to the deep end.
Yeah.
Because that's where the depth is. You don't want to stay in the shallow water, but you don't want to get there by head first, right? So you have to slowly inch your way towards things and do it, sort of like peeling onions or the layers of an onion, right? You do that and you reveal yourself over time, and people also reveal themselves on the other side in the reciprocal way over time. So you're going to see like, okay, how did that person respond when I shared this intimate part of my life with them? Did they share? Did they reciprocate and share? Were they supportive of me? Sort of seeing how that response lands for them.
I think what I picked up from what you're saying is really it's just about being a little bit vulnerable. Just a little bit vulnerable. And I have found that to be so true in my life. I'm a deep bitch. I'm not a small talker. I don't like to talk about the weather. Like I just go, it's interesting because I feel like I'm very, very private in certain ways. And I am also a little bit avoidant, but I love being vulnerable with my friends. Like there's a lot of things that I've gone through that maybe for someone that would be really difficult to talk about. But like I'll tell anyone like, oh yeah, my dad died, and now it's been enough time to where I can make humor, like I can bring humor into it as well. I try not to make anybody uncomfortable, but I don't mind talking about it. Or other things that maybe for some people feel really, really heavy. But for me, it's like that's me being vulnerable. That's sharing a piece of my story that I feel comfortable talking about. Obviously, I didn't always. And I do find that that is what has deepened so many of my friendships. I also know that if I'm going to be myself, which means be vulnerable and be deep and talk about deep things and talk about our feelings, etc., and someone can't do that, we're probably not going to be close friends, because I don't really like surface level conversations or not sharing intimate things. Like that's what my friendships are about, really, being supportive and sharing what we're struggling with, sharing our dreams, sharing our goals, etc. So if someone can't do that, which a lot of people don't like doing that, we're probably not going to be a good match, because I'm going to trauma dump you and flood you, and you're going to be like, that was too much. Being aware of what you need and what kind of friend fits into your life.
We all want meaning. We all want connection.
Yeah.
I think that's universal.
Right.
But some people, because of the place they come from, because of their upbringing, they're avoidant, right? Let's say they are afraid of intimacy. There's fear around opening up. And so they don't know how to get there.
Yeah.
They don't know how to bridge that gap.
Right.
And so maybe they need a friend like you to come in.
To break them, yeah.
Yeah.
I always joke with my friends. I'm like, they're like, oh yeah, she's really shy. And I'm like, I'll break her. Like I really can. I can do that with people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you know the Harvard study, right?
No.
Okay. So it's like one of the longest studies they've done. They tracked someone over like 85 years, the greatest minds in the country. And they found it was on like the meaning of life, and it was around happiness. They're like, okay, well, these are the greatest minds in the country. Let's track them through,
what do they do?
From the beginning to the end.
Yeah.
And at the end, they found that the happiest, and it was men, the happiest men were the ones who had the most meaningful relationships in their life. It was always about relationships.
Yeah.
But it wasn't just relationships. It was meaningful relationships.
Right.
And the meaning creates happiness, and the happiness removes loneliness. And so that's another thing that's happening in the culture right now is we're having a loneliness epidemic.
Right.
The Surgeon General came out in 2023 and he said, we're having a loneliness epidemic. We've got phones, we've got busy lives, we've got schedules, we've got families, we've got this, we've got that. So people are not talking about how lonely they are.
Yeah.
And that's another thing where friendship becomes even more vital and meaningful friendship.
Oh my gosh, because you can also feel really lonely in a friendship. That's why it's the quality of the friendship is truly what matters, right? And it's so difficult because you know how people say like, oh, I was born in the wrong generation, and people say that like, oh, I was born in the wrong era. Wrong. I was born in the right era. I want everything delivered. I don't want to leave my house. I want everything to get to my door. I love convenience. I want to go shopping online and get it tomorrow. Love it. However, as an introvert, believe it or not, even though I can't be quiet, all of the things that make my life better also keep me more lonely sometimes because like everything gets to my house. I don't have to run the errand. I can just get someone to run the errand for me, or I can, get the label online or return it online or get my groceries delivered. Like all the little things that before were points of connection, now we can just do it by not leaving our house. So it's difficult because we live in a society now where things have been so facilitated and there's so much efficiency, but it's like at what cost? How do you think we feel truly seen by a friend?
I think that's the $1 million question, right? And everybody wants that.
Yeah.
Listening is really key, but it's not just listening with your ears. It's listening with like your whole body, your heart, your mind, your soul. And there's a connection to that. That's empathy, compassion, right? That's being seen.
Yeah.
Is feeling understood by another person. I think at the core, that's what it is.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, somebody gets me. And if somebody gets me, I'm not alone. And if I'm not alone, then my life has meaning.
Right. Where are we getting it wrong as women with our friendships?
I think we're retracting too much. I think we've become a little bit, I don't want to say like gun shy, but maybe a little gun shy. There's
like
fear.
Protecting our peace too much.
Anytime you put yourself out in the friendship world, and you probably know this, you run the risk of getting burnt.
Yeah.
And you're gonna get burnt.
Yeah.
That's just part of life, right? You're gonna have failure. You're gonna have failed friendships. You're gonna have failed romantic relationships. That's part of the learning curve of everything. And realizing, coming out on the other side, okay, I don't want a friend like that.
Yeah.
That's not gonna work for me.
Right.
Or like you said, I'm a depth person. I don't want the shallow relationships. I tried that on for size. I'm just turning my wheels. I'm not getting it with that person.
Yeah.
They're fine, but that's not for me. So, I think nobody wants to go first. I think that's where we're getting it wrong. It's the leap of faith. It's that moving out of the shallow end into the deep end. We're not getting there fast enough, and our culture, unfortunately, and our busy lives and our phones and all these things, it's inhibiting us on some level to get there. It's not to say we can't, though.
Yeah.
It's just requiring more effort. And that's where I'm like here to say, let's bridge that gap, because you're going to have to take calculated risks.
Well, that too, and I love everything you said. I echo everything you said, and I think also something that people don't understand is that having beautiful, deep, soulful friendships will require a degree of inconvenience. There's things that you're not going to want to have to do, that you're going to have to do if you want that friendship. Like there's moments where you're going to be tired, but guess what? It's your friend's birthday and you have to go. Or it's your friend's baby shower and maybe you're going through a hard time. I just experienced this. One of my best friends, her baby shower was a few weeks ago, and I'm going through a really difficult time in my life where my capacity just feels a little more limited than it normally does. And I had said yes to this months ago, and I also was like, she's about to pop. And like, I don't want to not be there because this is such a special moment in her life. I don't want to be social right now, but it's like, I love her. I want to be there. I'm going to be uncomfortable for 2 days because I want to be there. And guess what? I was so tired, but I loved every second of being there. And now I'm like, I'm so happy I went. Like, I know I was very tired beforehand, but I'm like, I'm so happy I went. I'll never get that moment back, you know? And I think sometimes, and I have to remind myself this as well, the cost of a community is sometimes being inconvenienced. And I think a lot of people don't want to do that. I think personally, very deep friendships require discomfort sometimes.
Showing up is hard. Like you said, you were tired. But that's what a good friend does.
Yeah.
It's doing things that aren't just about you or what you want to do. You're saying, I'm bone tired, I've been traveling, whatever, but my friend is about to have a baby and she's important to me.
Right.
So half the battle in friendship is showing up and listening. I mean, it's actually not that hard.
I know.
But we don't get it right all the time.
Yeah.
And, you know, I also think grace in friendship is really important because we're going to mess up. Yeah. That's just life. Nobody's like a perfect friend. We're just not. Because we go through stuff.
Yeah.
And so I always like to bring in like ratios and tipping scales. So, you know, when someone's going through a hard time, the other friend sort of swoops in, and then hopefully that scale will tip, and then you can show up. It's a beautiful ebb and flow. The ratios will never be 50-50. But, you know, if you can find good ratios, it should not be 90-10.
Yeah.
If you are in a relationship where you are giving 90% and getting 10 back, that is a problem.
That's a problem.
So one of the things that I really espouse as to what makes a good friendship is reciprocity.
Yeah.
You show up for your friend's baby shower when it's your turn, for your birthday or whatever, something important for you, she's there. Most of the time, she's showing up for you too. And so that makes a good friendship.
I could not agree more. What do you think about moments when we show up imperfectly? Maybe we show up as a lesser version of ourselves, therefore maybe we're a bad friend. How do you go about forgiving yourself in those moments?
I'm big on owning your own shit. You're going to mess up.
Yeah.
You're going to say, you have to be able to own your own shit to your friend and call your friend and be like, I'm having an ugly moment or an ugly week or whatever. I'm a hot mess. And I am a bad friend right now. And I'm naming it, and I'm going to own it, and I'm going to do better.
I love that.
I'm going to get it together, and I'm going to do better.
Yeah.
And I think it's that accountability piece where friendship fails too is the friend that comes to you and says, my feelings were really hurt by that. The other person doesn't get it. It doesn't matter. You just say, your feelings matter to me, and I would never want to hurt you. And even if I don't like totally get it, which you don't need to say, you matter to me.
Right.
And your feelings matter to me. That's being seen, right? That was the $1 million question of like, you know, it's honoring someone's feelings. It's meeting them where they're at. It ultimately a good friendship has that seen factor to it.
Do you think jealousy is a natural human emotion? And do you think if it shows up in a close friendship, that friendship is inherently not healthy?
No, you know, jealousy's funny because I just had like, you know, everyone's posting stuff on Instagram, right? So sometimes people are home in their pajamas and they see somebody at a concert doing something amazing. And they're like, I'm jealous. I want to be there with you, right? That's sort of like healthy jealousy to me, right?
Yeah, that's not what I mean.
Right. No, that's not, and we'll go deeper with this. Yeah. That to me, you know, like friends will say, I'm jealous, right? And it's like, you're saying, I really am happy you're there.
I wish I were there with you.
I want to be there with you too, right? But jealousy where you want to take from somebody, where you can see your friend, you're like, no, I want that for myself. That's jealousy. Not seeing something that your friend has and say, I'd like to manifest that for myself too. I think that's aspirational jealousy or some version of that. That there may be like healthier versions of it. Yeah. Sort of like we're talking so much in the culture about narcissism and it's on a spectrum, right? You don't want to have a friend who doesn't want good for you. Ultimately.
Well, I get a lot of messages about women in friendships where they feel, and this is a tricky part because it's like, I love my friend, she's a great friend, but sometimes I feel like when something really exciting happened for me, or maybe I started dating somebody new or whatever the case may be, I feel like she's happy for me, but like there's a little bit of she's not that happy for me. And those are tricky to navigate because otherwise they're a really good friend and they show up all the time. And I understand just being in therapy for so long, I'm like, okay, that's just like a projection, right? Like maybe she wants that too. I feel like jealousy is sort of like a compass, right? When you feel jealous, it's because internally I feel like you want that. You maybe just haven't admitted it to yourself. But that's why I asked, like, do you think it's a natural emotion? Or what would you say to somebody who comes to you saying that, like, you know, she's a great friend, but sometimes I do feel like a little bit of jealousy.
She wants that, but is she taking something from you? You're feeling something. If you're feeling sort of that ick, something's being taken from you. Yeah. Right? So it can be, I am really wanting that for myself, but I'm so happy that my friend has that.
Right.
There's two parts to it, right?
Yeah, they can both exist.
Right? So but where it gets is when it's taking something from you, you're feeling that, right? So there's always, I always say in any relationship, there's the undercurrent, which are the words we express, how we show up in the room with our friends, and the things we feel, right? We know our bodies track everything way better. Yeah. So what you're alluding to may not be even verbal. It's just a feeling.
Yeah.
And you can just only describe the feeling. You can't point to maybe anything that she said or done, but you can feel it. It's the undercurrent.
Yeah. So what do you do when you feel that?
You note it.
You can't say anything, right? Because it's like, you just said it. They didn't say anything. You just feel it. But then what are you going to say? Hey, I feel like you're a little jealous of me. Like, you're not going to say that, right?
No, but you can decide how much access you want to give that person to your life.
Yeah. That's what I do. I kind of just like move them from box to box. Like, I'll just move that person to a different box and be like, okay, I feel like maybe sharing special things that are happening in my life isn't something that I necessarily want to do with this person. Because the last thing I want to do is share something and feel like I'm bothering someone by sharing that. And that's also so shitty, because no matter where I'm at in life, if I'm going through the trenches or not, I'm always happy for my friends. Like, I don't care if generally they're happier than I am. And I am happy about that, you know? But I know that this is such a real thing in female friendship, especially.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it really alludes to a part of themself that has not been worked through.
Yeah.
Right? So we say everything's a projection. It is trite but true. You know, how we show up in the room, all our relationships, it really is a reflective mirror onto our internal parts. And our friends reflect back what's resolved and what's unresolved. Just the same way a romantic relationship will do it.
Oh my gosh, totally. What would you say to a woman, this is something else that comes up a lot, navigating friendships as we enter different stages of our life, right? So maybe she's the only single friend. All of her friends are dating, getting married, having babies. It just hasn't happened for her yet. And she's feeling disconnected from her friends, but she doesn't want to make a ton of new friends. She loves them. They're her friends. But she doesn't feel seen because you guys are just on different pages. Mm-hmm. What do you say to someone's experience?
That is the natural pruning process of life, unfortunately. Yeah. It's chapters. Right. Our life always happens in chapters. I mean, if we think about elementary school, we were forced into a room with people we didn't know and forced to make friends that way. And then if you go to college, it's the same thing. Yeah. And then as you graduate out, now you're out in the world on your own. And you really have to be selective and choose. And then people forge different paths, whether it's parenthood or career or whatever. And so sometimes those paths divert a little bit. It's not to say to lose those friends, but commonality, like-minded interests, feeling seen. You can branch out. You don't lose those friends, but you may sort of separate a little bit from them. And that's just the natural, I think, progression of life.
Do you think it's vital for women to have friends that are going through the exact same thing they're going through?
No. You don't have to go through the same thing.
Or like in the same season, like if they're all in a season of motherhood and you're not.
Yeah, I don't think you have to. I do think there's something to be said for sharing a certain experience.
Yeah,
right. Motherhood is its own unique experience that can only be described by people who have lived that.
Yeah.
And so it's nice to know other people that are living that experience with you and support you in that, because someone who hasn't gone through that yet, there may just be a disconnect until they go that route, or maybe they don't. But I still think you can maintain those friendships. You don't have to be the same as your friends. In fact, I don't think it's healthy to be exactly the same as your friends.
Totally.
Because you want to, I don't travel that much. I have kids now, but I love my friends that are traveling the world and going on adventures. And I'm like, tell me everything.
Yeah.
I'm not doing that at this phase of my life, but I want you in my life. I want you to be sort of that energy force. And we're not the same. And we're not doing the same things. And I live for that. I love it.
I said this in an episode a few weeks ago, but I love being in my 30s because all of my friends, it's just so funny. I have one who's just got engaged, another one who's about to have a baby, another one who just moved out, broke up with her boyfriend. I have another one who is single and dating and going to festivals and living her best life. I have another one who wifed up. It's just I have another one who is married, doesn't want kids. It's just, we're all literally the same age or in close proximity, completely different lives. And I love it. It's so fun. It's this is so fun. But I could see how someone who has not one friend who understands them on a deep level in the season of life they're in, I could see how that could feel isolating, right? But I agree with you fully. I think the most beautiful thing is to all be doing different things, because then you all just get to share and go through different experiences that you maybe would, if you don't want kids, but your best friend is having kids, how fun. You get to like see what that's like, you know?
Yeah.
So I think there's beauty to it, but it is a mind fuck. Pardon my French.
Yeah. I mean, it can be, you know, it's just everyone's life is going to go its own. And you know what? Some people, they're not going to be around for every chapter of your book.
Right.
And that's okay. I think making peace with that,
Yeah.
that friendships are going to maybe sort of fall to the wayside. You will grow apart from people. That's natural because life has so many phases and there's so many progressions of it and chapters. And if you're lucky, honestly, they stay through the whole book.
I was just going to ask you why friendship breakups amongst women are so painful.
And I do think it's for some women harder than even romantic breakups.
I agree.
Nobody's even talking about that, right? Maybe
no,
they
I always say, you think I'm still sad about somebody's son who's not in my life? No. But you think I don't think about a friend that I lost like 5 years ago? I think about her all the time.
Yeah.
Like, I hope she's doing so amazing. I miss her. I love her. It's like this like ache.
Gut wrenching.
Yeah.
It is. It's really hard.
Why?
Because you cared and they meant something to you, and friendship is at its best a sisterhood.
Yeah.
And when it ends and there's a betrayal or whatever the reason is, it is brutal.
Let's speak to someone who's going through a friendship breakup. Somebody who's in their life for a long time. Maybe it wasn't a dramatic ending, just, you know what, maybe a slow fade, or you just realize you're not aligned anymore, but it's brutally painful. What would you say to her?
I would say to her that you need to grieve that person.
Yeah. It's like a grief.
Yeah, but also I think even if it's not a dramatic, like let's say it's not a dramatic betrayal, right? Let's say it's just like you moved and then you just kept losing touch. And you're missing that person and they're just not responsive anymore. And so then it's just sort of fizzled. There's this cooling off period. Being grateful for the memories you had. I think there's something to be said for that. Mm-hmm. Like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad that I had this friend at this chapter of my life. And I'm really sad that I don't have this anymore. And I'm missing it really badly. And there's grief associated with loss. Anytime we lose something, grief comes.
Yeah.
So what I would say to them is feel it all. Go through it and don't give yourself a timetable. I think that's like the one thing where we think we should be over things way sooner than we actually are.
Yeah. For
some people, it takes a really long time to get over somebody. And maybe they're never fully over them. And so that's okay. So just that grace piece of like, got to give myself a little bit of grace. That loss is something I have to live with and grieve.
Do you think as women we might tell ourselves certain stories that don't necessarily help us in our friendships? Like, for example, oh, I don't want to bother her with this. Oh, nobody cares about this thing that's happening in my life. Oh, she's not going to want to come with me to this, etc. Can you talk a little bit about that?
The narratives that live in our heads and the way we sort of trip ourselves up, right? Yeah, I mean, I think that goes back. We have to push an override button sometimes. Mm-hmm. Sometimes people do want to hear about it.
Yeah.
Sometimes you do want to tell them. Sometimes it's about you actually wanting something and you're not listening to your wants and desires and following through on your own. And so then it becomes that sort of loop in the brain. We're like, oh, no, they wouldn't want to know. But I actually want to tell them.
Yeah, then tell them.
Yeah. So that's we're going back to be the first one to do it.
Yep.
And so it's just like it's like I look at the pool, right? You got to get to the deep end eventually. Don't dive in head first, but staying in the shallow end will get you nowhere.
Do you think consistency is more important than intensity in friendship?
Yes.
Why?
I talk a lot about this. This is one of my big things. Fast burn relationships versus slow burn relationships, primarily around friendships. Also, you can apply it to romantic. I am not a proponent of fast burn anything. I think when you fast burn a friendship, if you fast burn a romantic relationship, you are really running a risk of crash and burn.
Yeah.
The slow burn is the way to go, slow and steady consistency. However, what you're not going to get, and this is where people push override, you don't get the dopamine hits. You don't get as much excitement. You don't get that like thrill of, oh my God, I think I met my person, and all of this, you know, thrill rush, like a roller coaster ride. Maybe there's not the love bombing and all of these things that can feel so good. That's where the dopamine kicks in. The slow burn doesn't give you that. But what the slow burn gives you is that consistent person.
It's like longevity.
Longevity and meaning.
Yeah.
And support. Because when you have a bad season in your life, that slow burn is where you're going to want to turn.
I could not agree more. Have you heard the concept of low maintenance friendships?
Yeah.
Have you heard that online? What are your thoughts on them?
I mean, I think
they're very like polarizing. People feel a certain way about them. Like people are either like, oh, I am the low maintenance friend. And then some people are like, I don't do low maintenance friendships because I put a lot of effort into my friendships, and I, you know, which I guess we're looking at it in too much, like in extremities. I feel like there's like a nice gray, but I also think we're all defining it differently. So how would you define it, and what do you think about it?
I don't think it's low maintenance as like effort, right? It really comes down to effort.
Yeah.
Everything in life that matters
is
effort.
Yeah.
So yes, be high maintenance, require effort, command things for yourself. But also like be reasonable, low maintenance in that way, you know? So I think I don't think it's black or white. I think it's a beautiful gray area that exists somewhere in the middle, and everyone has different requirements for what they want out of friendship.
Yes.
And so that's where you have to find your happy medium with people and honor that. Because some friends will be more high maintenance and they might be worth it. And some will be just low maintenance by nature. And that's easy. But find what works for you.
I think a lot of people don't know what kind of friend they want. You know? Like, I think a lot of people don't know what kind of friend they even are and what they need. And I think that's where a lot of disappointment happens with friendship, because you don't even know what kind of friendship you're signing up for, because you don't know what you're necessarily needing. It's like too ambiguous, right? Like we don't even know, we don't have like a pattern or a cadence. Nothing is really established. I think it's really important. I had to have this conversation with myself in my 20s because, you know, I had so many friends that I loved, but I had so many new friends that I loved, but I felt like I was trying to be such a good friend to everybody that I wasn't being a good friend to anyone. Because I'm like, I don't have the bandwidth for this many people. Like, I can't keep pouring into all these cups. And here are like my precious friends that I've had forever and like my bestest friends. I feel like I'm not showing up great because, you know, I'm like trying to entertain all these new friends. And don't get me wrong, I love making new friends. But I had to be real with myself of like, listen, you need to look at your life, see what you have the bandwidth for. Because it wasn't making me feel good that I was not being a great friend to everybody. And I was like, what friends do you want in your life forever? Like, I almost had to like prioritize, which sounds awful, but like I had to get real with myself of like, who do I see in my life forever? What friendships are the ones that I truly want to put all my time and effort in? Because trying to be a good friend to 50 people, for me, was unrealistic. I'm like, I don't have the bandwidth for that. Like, I'm not such a social person, believe it or not. Like, I don't have that energy. So I'm like, I can't do this. And so I had to get real with myself of like, you need to be a little more intentional and not get so carried away with like making new friends and wanting to be friends with everybody and wanting to make plans with everybody. You don't have the social battery for that. And that was like a tough conversation for me. And then I had to, you know, kind of disappoint some people, but I was like, this feels much more right. But I had to have like a really honest conversation with myself. And I feel like sometimes we don't like to do that.
Yeah, I mean, in casting, everything's energy exchange. Keep in mind,
yeah.
Right? And we only have so much battery.
Yeah,
inside.
I have the battery of like an iPhone 4, so I'm like, I can't do this.
You have a lot of apps running too. That drains the battery.
Yeah.
So if you have a ton of apps running and those are all your friends, think about that in that way. So you know, you're getting smart about it. Actually, you're seeing that depth gap too, because you're like, I don't want the quantity, and I need to like sort of figure out what works for me and where I want to invest. Think about it like actually friends are sort of like a portfolio, like an investment, right? Where do you want to invest your energy and with whom?
Yeah.
And I think what's important is through the slow burn, you start to see people reveal themselves over time behaviorally.
Yes.
You don't need to do a whole lot because it's just going to naturally happen, right? And so those are the tells. I think where people get tripped up is when they ignore yellow flags or red flags and they just absorb it or override it.
They run through the carnival.
Yeah, and so it's actually listening to that and maybe pulling back and then recalibrating, readjusting your investment and your energy, and then really depositing in the people that you feel good about.
What do you think is a silent killer in friendship?
Silent killer. I think not complimenting your friends ever. And not like honoring and saying things like words of affirmation, I think is a silent. It's one of those. I
love that. Nobody has ever said that answer. I love that.
You have to affirm your friends. Yes. And maybe a compliment isn't even a physical thing.
Yeah.
It's like, thank you for coming to my baby shower when you were so tired.
Yeah.
You're a really good friend. I think affirming your friends is really big. And if you don't do that, I think that's a silent killer.
I'm so happy you said that. And conversely, I would love to know, what do you think is the most magical part of female friendship?
Laughing. Literally laughing. Laughter.
I feel like laughter cures the soul.
I just, that's for me.
Yeah.
When I'm laughing with someone and it's just the dumbest,
the best,
nonsensical, and you cannot, the guttural laugh where
it like hurts.
Yes. And you don't even know what the issue was or what you were laughing about, but you're laughing together in conjunction. That's the best part of you. That's the magical.
I feel like you kind of have touched on this, but what do you think are a few misconceptions about having deep, beautiful, soulful friends? What are a few misconceptions about it?
I don't think you need to be a perfect friend.
Talk more about that.
I think there's a lot of online. There's a lot of stuff around perfectionism.
Yeah,
and I think that you can mess up and still recover. I think that's one of the big misconceptions about friendship is that it does not have to go in a straight line and that you can fall out and come back better.
With all of the women that you talk to, with all of your research, with all of your clients, what are the patterns that you've been seeing lately about friendship?
People are lonely.
Yeah.
And people don't know how to connect. We've lost, we do know how to connect. At our core, we know how to connect. It's just that we're not doing it.
You think it's the phones?
I think the phones are a big barrier. I think our lifestyle, I think we're lazy.
Yep.
I think we're becoming lazy
We've
and
become
insular.
lazy. Yep.
And the phones are making us lazy because
Yep.
we're like, oh, we can just scroll through our phone tonight and stay in our pajamas. And I'm not knocking that. There are days when that is a total necessity. But what's the converse of that is that it takes effort to make plans. It takes effort to plan a girls' night. It takes effort to go and make a date with your friends.
Yeah.
And people are not putting in that effort as much anymore. They're getting lazy.
Yeah.
And we're missing out. And it's not FOMO in the traditional sense. It's we're missing an area of our life. There's a gap. And we're wanting more connection. We're wanting more camaraderie with girlfriends, and we want more depth. We want people to know us.
And the way to do that is to go first.
To go first.
What do you love most about you as a friend?
I usually go first. I'm like you in that way. Like I will check in. I'm willing to take those risks and have my heart broken. And I've had it broken, but I'm willing to be courageous and bold and honest. I think so much of friendship, that's another piece, is just being honest with your friends. Because the truth is, and there's a lot of people that think they need to show up in their friendship a certain way. Most people don't want that. They don't want the persona. They want the real you.
Yep.
That's the one that they want. And sometimes I want to say to my friends, no, you don't need to try that hard with me. I want you.
You sound like my bestest friend. She gets really upset with me because when I go through difficult things, I tend to isolate. That's just my natural instinct. I don't like being around people when I'm just really, really, really struggling. And I think it's really because people drain me a lot, even the people that I love the most. Everybody drains me. It's not about anybody else. It's just me. I have a very small tank. And I also feel like when I'm with my friends or with anybody, I like to be very present. I'm going to listen to you. I want to ask you everything. I'm like very there. You know, I really try to give everything I have. I don't know how to just give a little. It's like zero or nothing. And that's also on me, right? But that's just how I am. I don't like to show up when I don't feel like I can be my full self. Like that doesn't make me feel good. And Bibi, my bestest friend, we've been best friends forever. Like I've known her since I was 0 years old. And actually like 1 or 2 because I'm a year older. But she always gets mad at me because she's like, you understand that I don't care if you're upset and that you don't feel like making me laugh today or you're going to be like your usual talkative, fun self. Like, I don't care. I just want to be with you. Like, I just want to sit on the couch with you. And to me, it's like it makes me feel so uncomfortable to show up when I can't be my full self. But then I also don't let anybody be there for me. And then I get into this rut of isolating. And as you know, when you do that too much, you then get comfortable. And then then I'm like, wait, I don't know how to talk to people. Like, then I forget how to, like yes. I see her for the first time after like a few weeks of isolating. And I'm like, hi, like, we're like both nervous. And it's like, why do I do this? I always do this. And she always calls me out. And she's like, you're allowed to just be fucking sad. It's okay. Like, I don't need you to be on all the time. But it's so hard for me.
What she's saying is, I want you to bring your whole self. And you're saying, I only feel comfortable bringing these parts of myself.
Yes.
And I'm going to wait until those parts emerge. And if they have to retreat, I'm going to retract. So it's interesting because what you're describing is so common.
Yeah.
And so many women do this. They're like, oh, if I'm just having a dark season or a hard time or I'm exhausted or burnt out, I don't want to.
Right.
And listen, there's something to be said for recharging.
I was going to say, at what point is it knowing yourself and knowing what you need and honoring your current needs? And at what point is it sometimes we have to push ourselves? Like, I never know where the balance is with that.
So burnout is different than going through like a really hard time, right? Sometimes you're just exhausted because you said, I give so much. You're like so many people. Sometimes also people forget there are people who are empaths out there. And those people they're extroverts, but are secretly introverted inside. And they have to go home and recharge and be alone so that they can go and bring their full selves back into the world.
I could talk to a dead person, but like I could talk to a dead person for like 2 hours and then I have to go home and be alone for like 36 hours. That's how I operate.
Yeah, because you have to recharge the batteries.
Yeah.
Right? But what your friend she's giving you a gift.
I know.
And you might want to take it at some point.
But why does it feel so uncomfortable?
Because for people, sometimes it's really hard to allow people to support us.
Yeah.
As women, I think that's also, there's something to be said for bringing those sort of, like, unacceptable, I'll put that in quotes.
No, totally.
Right? Parts of ourselves to another woman who's going to say, like, have an ugly cry. Sit there. I mean, Carrie Underwood talks about cry ugly or whatever, like we don't want to show that, but that's the depth gap.
Totally.
And if you had that, my gosh, if your friend could support you, she's wanting it, she's asking it, and you're like, no, I'm going to retreat. But also what's funny is people, when they isolate, when they go back out in the world, if they've isolated for too long, they get sort of paranoid and weird in interactions. They start overthinking this. So that's where it's like the baby steps at the shallow end and the invitation from your friend. And so I like to say, get comfortable with being a little uncomfortable.
That's all I do. You know how therapists love to say, sit in the discomfort. I'm like, can you tell me one time to sit in the comfort? How about that? Well,
the discomfort over time becomes more comfortable. That's the whole point of it, right? And that's why you don't like jump too far. This is why I'm like all about baby steps, right? But there's something to be said for the discomfort and living on the edge, because living on the edge of your comfort zone is where life starts.
What do you think about people pleasing in friendships?
I think it's a recipe for disaster.
Why?
Because it leads to resentment, and you're sacrificing yourself if you're people pleasing too much. You know, and there's things not being said, I think.
You know what? I don't think a lot of people know they're people pleasing when they actually are. Like, can you illustrate a few ways, like little minor ways that a friend might be people pleasing, but they don't even realize they're doing it? Maybe it's just autopilot.
I think suppression is one of the biggest things. They're thinking something without saying it.
Okay.
That's one of them. And so they're like, oh, well, I don't want to say that, so I'm going to just be quiet. Or they're doing the contra of that, and they're saying the opposite of what they're thinking.
Oh, yeah.
Because they're giving their friend lip service. Like, oh, I think you'll want to hear this, right? So that's people pleasing. It's being inauthentic. That's why people pleasing doesn't work. You're not being true to yourself. Every relationship that has meaning also has authenticity to it. So you're showing up as your true self is the best chance you have at life for success in a relationship. And a people pleaser is going to crash and burn at some point because they're going to get tired because that's not really true to themselves. They're playing a part.
Yeah.
And they're going to build resentment because they're doing probably the opposite of how they're thinking or whatever, or they're just trying to pander to somebody, whatever the situation is.
Where does people pleasing even come from? Do you think that's nature versus nurture? Like, is it conditioned? Is it something we learn? I know that's so layered and it obviously is nuanced, but if we had to generalize it, what would you say?
I think it's tied to self-esteem.
Okay.
I really think people please because they think that's what the other person wants, and then if they do that, then they'll be accepted. And if they were authentic, then they wouldn't be accepted. Or if they shared maybe some ugly parts of themselves, they wouldn't be. So they're gonna play this role of the people pleaser.
Yeah.
And ultimately they're sacrificing their self-esteem in the process and themselves.
It's almost like a fear of rejection, would you say?
It can be. And that's what self-esteem is tied to.
Yeah. I would love to end. I feel like we gave my girls and 7% men who listen so many gems. And I'm so grateful for your time and for your openness. And I would love to end by, what do you want women to remember about friendship? What do you want them to take away from this episode if maybe they are feeling dissatisfied with the friendships in their life, maybe be it the quality, the quantity, whatever it is? What would you want them to remember?
I want them to go first. I want them, but I want them to try things on for size. That's life. Get a little bit out of your comfort zone. Go first.
Yeah.
Slow burn. I want them to remember to slow burn people and look for red flags and yellow flags. Check in with themselves and be themselves. I want them to be themselves in their friendships. The best friends are the ones where you can show up at any hour, at any version.
I think Go First is going to be the title of this episode. I love it. Thank you so much for coming on Unwinding. Where can people find you?
They can find me on my website at drelisabethcrain.com or on Instagram at Dr. Elisabeth Crain.
Beautiful. Thank you so much.